Book of Giants, Jay. What you know about the Book of Giants, aka a chapter out of the Book of Enoch? What you know, boy?
Yeah. Uh, it's madness.
Madness.
Honestly. Like, I mean, as a kid, I went to church a lot as a kid. Like, we were in the church every Sunday, right? Like,
And Wednesday nights, heathens. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, dude. My father believed that if the doors were open to the church, you were there.
Yep.
Right. And so, my mom was a little bit less. So, so we weren't there when the doors were open all the time, but most of the time for sure. And reading this in comparison to what we learned at
blows your mind. So before we get started here, I gotta appease our channel helpers. All right. Hello everyone, welcome to the Ancient Enigma Files. My name's Professor Augustus, accompanied by
Uncle Jay.
Don't forget to hit the link in the description, like and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and follow us on all of our social media accounts.
And remember to ring that bell for Rooster.
Ring that bell for my cousin Rooster. Holler, holler. All right, so here we go. How you doing, everybody? That felt forced because it was. We roll. That's how we roll around here. Well, tonight's episode is, we just get into it. You ready?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tonight's episode, we are talking about a chapter out of the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch is a excellent read. I highly recommend it. Matter of fact, Jay and I both have this book right here, right? Right? If you don't have it, I highly recommend you go get this book. We don't get anything for it, and I'll probably forget to put a link where to buy it. So go on Amazon and get it. And basically, it's the complete 54.
Completely free and unsolicited plug.
Yeah.
It's been really useful because it's nice to, I love digital stuff too, but sometimes it's nice to just have a big ass heavy book in your hand.
It will stop a bullet. It will stop a bullet.
It will probably would stop a bullet for sure.
So anyways, the Book of Enoch is an amazing book. And within that book, there is a smaller chapter, really, basically called the Book of Giants. To give you just a little bit of information of where the Book of Enoch was found. It was actually part of the Dead Sea Scrolls. I don't have the date and the time right there. But it tells a different tale. It fills a blank in the Bible. The Book of Enoch is supposed to come after the Book of Genesis, but it was removed for the reasons you're about to find out, right? And it is such a powerful read that it is almost impossible to cover in one podcast. We have done we've
done a couple of them on this.
We've done a actual podcast about the first part of the Book of Enoch, but there's things in there that we weren't able to talk to. Book of Enoch describes 10 levels of heaven. It also describes portals. It describes all kinds. There's also a chapter in there called the Book of Secrets. But today we're going to be speaking specifically about the Book of Giants, right? And as I read that today and did some other research today, it actually makes our world make sense. And I will tell you exactly why that happens. So, when we get into this, the Book of Enoch talks about a story. Let me give you just a high-level overview in case you're just jumping into this. The Book of Enoch tells a high-level story of 200 angels who defied God, God left 200 angels, or probably more, but this talks about the 200. God left angels behind on the earth to watch over us and take care of us. 200 of those angels decided to rebel, and they came down and they actually landed on a mountain called Mount Hermon, right? And the reason why they came down is because of our hotties, right? They saw the hotties. Give me the word what they say, Jay. They saw our hotties and they were like, we got to go down.
Yeah. Well, I believe the term would be called going native.
Yeah, they went native. That's a good word for it. They lusted over the women of the earth. And fun fact, the reason why women wear burqas originally, I believe, was to hide themselves from the watchers.
Well, it's a modesty thing.
A modesty thing, right? To come through there, right? And they landed on Mount Hermon and they made a contract. They had a leader. Their leader was this guy named Semjaza, right? He was the leader of the watchers, an angel's name. Semjaza was worried that when God showed up, because they knew God would eventually show up, which I can't. Once you hear what happens, I don't know why they would do it. He was worried he'd take the heat, so they made a contract. So they came down, they signed all their names or their symbols.
How many times has a dude done something?
Oh yeah,
for that.
I know.
Completely against their best interest. I mean, you and I both know that we just gather them up. The dudes who've done stupid stuff.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it just dawned. I just had an epiphany. It just came to me right now. It's not only will women on earth destroy a man's life, you've literally destroyed heavenly beings' lives. What is up with earth chicks, man? Come on.
Well, maybe it speaks more to just the nature of loneliness and how that works, right? Like, think about a perspective, and I'm just going to pick one. These watchers, right? They're in a different place. You know, they're not home, right? They're on a mission of some sort. They've been there a long time.
And you know what? I'm thinking we're such a backwater planet. We didn't get their best and brightest, right? This is
not necessarily right.
Like this is definitely, you're going to Adak, Alaska for a year. This is definitely like, you know, you're out there.
And you know how that works, man. There's the term Tundra Wookiee
Tundra Wookiee
exists for a reason. Do you remember Yeah, I mean it does. It exists for a reason, right? Like,
yeah, there was two terms that I'm going to put down here. And if you were ever in the military, especially the Navy, and if you've ever heard these terms, hit us in the comments. One is called Diego Fine, right? If you're a Diego Fine, right? And the second one is a Tundra Wookiee. You know exactly what we're talking about. You can hit that in the comments below. As a matter of fact, when my naval career was illustrious. And
we lived a life of adventure.
And I had some non-judicial issues come along the way, right? So one of my non-judicial issues gave Big Daddy here the opportunity to either go to Adak, Alaska, or Diego Garcia for a year.
Oh, for reals?
Yeah, for real. So
that was, huh?
So I got a 1 year timeout. From Big Daddy, from Uncle Sam. So I chose Diego Garcia as part as my 1 year timeout from Southeast Asia.
You chose wisely, sir.
And I will say that I know a guy who actually 1 week, 2 weeks prior to me chose to go to Adak, Alaska, right? We bumped into each other, I think 2 or 3 years later, man. I think we're actually in Pensacola. And he told me like how the horror stories. I got a tan, played softball, lift weights, swam every day.
You went to the beach, and he went to literally the butthole of the Arctic.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyways, that Diego Fine and Tundra Wookiees. Let us know if you know what those are in the bottom there. But anyways, it wouldn't be an EnigmaCast without us dropping a little salty spice in there along the way. Right.
These sea stories by Uncle Jay and Professor Augustus.
Right now, there's some dude sitting on his couch. He was in Adak, Alaska, and there's a woman sitting next to him with his kids, and they're like, "What is a Tundra Wookiee, Daddy?" Don't worry about it.
Yeah, hopefully they're not playing it out loud.
No, just don't worry about it, son. It's all right. Those idiots. Change the channel. Change the channel. Damn it. Change the channel.
Aren't you guys supposed to be in bed?
Yeah. Sickly at night. When he goes to bed at night, he's like, he's hitting the comment section. But anyway, so back on topic. 200 watchers came down from Semjaza, landed on Mount Hermon. They put their names on this rock. And by the way, the Illuminati actually has that rock. It's in the basement of a museum in Great Britain that no one's allowed, London, I think specifically, that no one's allowed to look at.
So let me ask real quick, because this is not something I'm familiar with.
Right.
There's a rock and they wrote their names, and I'm going to guess angelic script because I've seen that.
Yeah, so it looks like. Do you remember how the Japanese used to have a signature little, like a press like a little button.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looked like to me, but it looks like different, like hieroglyphs type of thing, right? And
Yeah, is it this? There's one that's out there that's circular,
yep,
right? Circles and connected lines and
yep.
stuff.
So they branded this rock somehow, and the rock is real. And so they won't tell you that this is what the rock is, but it's just funny. This script talks about angels coming down to Mount Hermon and making a contract amongst themselves and searing their names into this rock, and then they find a rock on Mount Hermon with all these seer stuff in it, and then they confiscate the rock and they put the rock in the basement of a museum in London that no one's allowed to see. That's true. You can look that up. Also, another fun fact: you can't climb to the top of Mount Hermon. We talked about this before. You can get about 1,000 feet to the top, but you can't go to the top because for some reason, right in the middle of Mount Hermon, which I'm guessing is in modern day Israel, there is a full-time United Nations detachment stationed there 24/7, 365. And there's the Germans. They speak as the Germans. It's a German US. As a sprechen Sie Deutschen, right? So why would German UN troops be stationed on a mountain in Israel full time? United Nations. Why? That's just a why, right? So I could tell you why, but it's because Satan is the leader of the United Nations, and the blue helmets there are their little high steppers. But anyways, that's all true story.
Dude.
That's all true. You can look it up.
That is off the rails for a minute, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're not even going to get into that.
Yeah,
the UN connection. Let's not.
Yeah.
We'll. That's a whole other podcast.
Exactly. So you can go look all that stuff I just told you. It's not hyperbole or any type of fabrication or me just spreading extra sauce on it. That's all facts. That's all true, right? Also, too, another fun fact is that it is if you've read the Bible, it talks about Jesus having a transfiguration. They say that was on the top of Mount Hermon as well, and that's when he spoke to with Moses and Elijah. And here's another.
That's where he wrote, right?
That's where. Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's where he ascended at the end, but he had like a moment where he transfigured there, where he turned into a light, and he had a meeting with Moses and Elijah. Here's a fun fact for you if you really want to have your brain do some 360s tonight. The Bible also talks about Moses and Elijah kind of doing the same thing. And they're speculating now that all three of those things took place at the exact same time because time doesn't exist in heaven. So that it's a human construct. So whatever, man.
Well, they do talk about time dilation in the Book of Enoch.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right? Like one day there is 1,000 years here.
Yep. That's it.
Right? So okay. Here's what's so fascinating to me about that. And I'm going to get stupid for a minute, but it's going to serve a purpose.
Let's get stupid.
Did you see the movie Interstellar?
I did.
Where when they went to a planet and they were talking about like 1 minute here is 7 weeks on blah, blah, blah.
It was actually one day. The planet they were on, 1 minute there was 1 day on Earth, and they were clicking, and they were clicking, and they were clicking.
Right? You're talking about relativistic time.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if you were to do the math there, you might need an astrophysicist to do the time. He could give you a general, I guess, vicinity or an idea of what that could possibly mean, right? Or where it could be, or a direction, or how far, or something.
Guarantee
right?
They've already done it.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, it's not something I know about. Is it?
Yeah, well, it's obviously it's in the 3 mile library underneath the Vatican where we're not allowed to do it, right?
Sorry,
so guarantee it. Guarantee.
Definitely one of the books. No, but I mean seriously, there probably is a calculation there, but that's high end astrophysics and stuff that I just.
Do you know why? Do you know why they don't ever make that public information?
Because most astrophysicists have no interest in reading the Book of Enoch and do not realize that there's a possible kind of astrophysical question in there.
Everything that an astrophysicist or a stupid theoretical physicist.
Here we go with the theoretical.
Your people, man. Everything. I'm gonna look at the camera when I say this. Your people. Everything that your people stand for is in this book, but they won't read it. But I bet you they got Superman 1421 Green Lantern edition on their shelves, right?
You're not going to hear me disagreeing about any of that.
Come on,
right? I do think that's why I exist, right? To like bridge that gap and like
bridge that gap, son.
Be imaginative in a way, and say, hey, look, what if this is actually a first contact story, and maybe if you reframe it and read it from a different perspective, you'll find some interesting.
It is. That's
something interesting.
That's a good point, right? So like it's funny, like this Book of Giants is not mentioned in the. It might actually be. I can't remember the Sumerian tablets, right? But it's possible.
I don't know.
I don't either. So, but anyways, these 200 came down, and basically it's like, we're gonna have one hell of a rump springer down here, man. I'll go, no stop. Let's go, and they roll out. And what they did was they went out and they took women, right? And then they bred with these women, and these women gave birth to giants. Now, not only did they do that, right? That's the 9 to 5 stuff, right? The Book of Giants drills down into really what they did to pollute the earth, right? And also, I've made a couple videos about this as well. The Watchers took 200 of every beast on the planet. Goats, cows, birds, snakes, whatever. They took 200 of each of them, right? And what they literally started doing, and I don't know, in my mind, I don't know why they would do this. They started crossbreeding these animals, sinning against these animals, breeding them with humans, and when they use the term in the actual text of the book, they use the term defile. They defiled these animals. They defiled them with humans. They defiled them with, X, Y, and Z. We know that I'm assuming that a man cannot get an animal pregnant, right? So I'm assuming the same goes. I don't know, can an animal get a person pregnant? I don't think that's possible. So when they say defiled, we have to talk about high-level DNA splitting, hybrid creation, or stuff like that, right? And so,
right. Well, that's what it. I mean, it says that it right in here. It says that they gathered all that stuff for interbreeding.
Yeah, and that's what they did.
It was like it was just a giant genetic experiment, man.
It was,
and I honestly think that that's the whole point of why they were here.
I just don't. I'm just thinking like I don't know, but I do know that
I think it's an unsanctioned. I think the human race has literally an unsanctioned genetic experiment.
It's possible,
and that's why they're so afraid of us.
Oh, I definitely believe that, right? But I think that like that they were here to watch us because we were unsanctioned, and then they were like, you know what? Let's go down there and have a little fun and see what we can do. And they took us and our women and they spliced us, and it's literally they created the term monsters. They created monsters. That's what it says. They created monsters that spread across the earth and flourished and conquered and bred and killed, and that led and because of the generational breeding, this was going on for I don't know how freaking long, right? As the monsters would breed, they started losing intelligence, so they became more feral, more beast-like. And it even says that something. I think the term they use, Jay, is that they lost the gift of knowledge, or they lost the gift of something, whatever.
Probably the gift of wisdom.
Yeah, something, right?
The ability to wisdom in these contexts has a tendency to also include things like compassion and empathy.
Yeah,
right?
and also too, I think that because, just hear me out on this, right? If you breed, so one of the things that they bred was a satyr, right? A satyr is what they bred, right? And that's a upper body of a human with the legs of horns and a goat. And so, if you have a half human, half animal brain, and you stop educating your human side of your brain through generations, then the animal part of your brain takes over more and more and more, your basic urges to kill, eat, breed, this takes over. And I think that's what happened. So basically what these watchers did was, and the giants, they created monsters, which basically is the Fae. All the fairy tale stories that you hear about in your whole entire life, here's a list of it, what these guys created. And
then there was a council of them.
Yes, and that's another thing too, right? Yeah, that's a great point. They had leaders. These things had, some of them at least, or enough of them, they had a council of giants and monsters that would meet and have like committees and talk, right? And just plot out the evil. So here's what these guys created, right? Just a few of them, right? You're gonna appreciate this. They created Satyrs, which is basically half man, half goat. Centaurs. Never heard of those before, Jay? Lower body of a horse, upper body of a man, right? By the way, a centaur was actually, if you ever read the Iliad, a centaur is the one who trained Achilles how to fight. So, mermaids, mermen, we all know what those are. Sirens. Fawns, similar to satyrs, except they have a human body and horns, legs of like a goat or like something like that, or a doe. Sekels, I've never heard of these before. They were found in Scotland and Ireland. Sekels are capable of transforming from seals into humans by shedding their skins. Where have we heard a story about
Kelpies.
Huh? Skeldies? Is that what they are?
They're I've heard them called kelpies before.
Yeah, kelpies. Where have we?
It might be a Gaelic spelling, and who knows how to pronounce some of that stuff.
Where have we heard of a seal with human intelligence before, Jay? Climbed out of a hole.
Seal.
Came out of Mel's hole, right?
That's interesting. I didn't even think about that. Right, a seal with a human face. Comes out of a weird hole. Yeah. Right. And here it is. Yeah.
And so they have harpies, which are basically half bird, half humans. Except in Hindu, they call them Garudas. Mm-hmm. Right? And so Garudas are basically large bird-like creatures with golden bodies of a strong man, the wings and beak of an eagle. It is revered as divine figure and serves the mount of Lord Vishnu. Garudas are known for their speed, ability to travel between the human and celestial realms. Here's another little funny story for you, too. Quetzalcoatl was a god in current-day South America that the Aztecs prayed to. And there's a story how Quetzalcoatl had to flee because men who looked like eagles came from the sky and attacked him. Right? And that's in their folklore, not my folklore. Right? Here's another one that's hard to pronounce here. Anuka-Levi, right? A creature from Arcadian mythology with the origin, it's a Norse thing, folklore. Horse's body with a human torso attached to its back, and it's said to be malevolent. So basically, man, it's a centaur. Here's the one that you might know the best, right? I didn't know this. Jay, did you know this? That there's 3 types of sphinx? You have an Egyptian sphinx, a Greek sphinx, and a South Asian sphinx, known as a Purusha Maraga in Hindu. It combines the features of a human and a lion. You see those all over, especially when you're dealing with you go and look at any Anunnaki artwork.
Yeah, I mean,
it's half.
And then the whole Egyptian goddess Bath.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the whole thing, man. Basque, yeah.
Literally a female and a cat, right? Like sometimes a female human, sometimes a female cat, human hybrid,
but here is the fruit. Here's the cherry. Here's the number one, son. They made them Sasquatches, y'all. They made them Bigfoots. You don't know? Here's a fun fact that I didn't know.
I mean, here you go. Here's a what if for you, right?
Yep.
There were giants. What if the giants, as they bred, became a little bit smaller and adapted to their surroundings?
Well,
like pretty much every other thing.
I can prove they coexisted, and I'll tell you why. It was created, right? Did you know that Sasquatch actually translates into It means wild man. I didn't know that, but check this out, right? Commonly known as a Bigfoot, blah, blah, blah. If I have to explain to what a Bigfoot is on this channel, leave. Just leave. Turn it off and leave, right?
Come on.
Gilgamesh had a BFF who was a wild man, a.k.a. a Sasquatch. It's in all of the tales of the Epic of Gilgamesh. And you know what his name was? If I ever get a dog, this is what I'm going to call it. Enkidu. That was his name. Tell me that's not a good name. That's a good name for a boat, son.
Enkidu?
Enkidu. That was
Enkidu.
Enkidu. Enkidu. Right? That was the name of Gilgamesh's BFF, the wild man.
I can't wait to hear you call that dog.
Enkidu. 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 Right? Yeah. So that explains a lot. And here's another thing where I pulled on another thread today when I was actually talking. I was having my hype session with ChatGPT. Every single civilization that's ever existed on this planet, from Aboriginals to Eskimos to Genghis Khan folks to Russians to Alaskans, you name it, they all have stories of the Fae. Every single one of them has stories of the Fae. And in the Book of Enoch, it says that the giants created these monsters and that corrupted the entire world. They were everywhere, is what it said, right? Everywhere.
Well, you got to think, right? These are beings that are descended from something that is a fairly powerful entity. Like, classify it however you want, extraterrestrial, angel, whatever you want to call it. It was a powerful entity. They had knowledge, an abundance of knowledge, right? Of superior technology, weapon making, all kinds of crafting technologies, all kinds of just all of it, right? They basically came here and spilled the beans. Everything. Violated any kind of prime directive if one exists. Just threw all that shit right out the window.
That shit went out the window, dog.
Full native. They went full native and say, this is our place now.
Exactly. You want to have a baby with that chick? Go for it. We're not supposed to. Hey, who cares, man? Hey, look, make a dog man. Look, here's a dog man. Take that dog.
They went kind of buck wild, right?
They went wild, bro. They went wild.
Let's think about that for a minute, right? Okay. I'm gonna propose a scenario for you. There's an unsanctioned genetic experiment going on. Someone finds out about it. They're a little upset. The director has to go back and answer for whatever, or explain, or tend to another freaking project. Who knows? But he rolls out, and this other group
assistants
comes in,
the interns,
as the right? No, as the I don't know. They're supposed to be watchers, right? So they're supposed to just sit there and watch. So they're probably monitoring it for some reason, right?
Yeah.
And instead of monitoring it, knowing that they're not coming back anytime soon, and we're in the backwater freaking edge of West Virginia, why not make some moonshine, bro?
Exactly.
I mean, think about it. It tracks from a behavioral perspective.
No, it totally does, man. It totally does, man.
And then the seal, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times in the Book of Enoch, when we were talking about before, they were saying you can't come back to heaven. You are now of the earth, and everything you begot is of the earth.
No.
So maybe that seal was them binding themselves to this planet.
Well, it doesn't work out for them. Spoiler alert.
No.
It doesn't work out for them in the end.
Did not go well.
So, but
it usually doesn't, though, does it?
Huh?
Usually, and historically speaking, it doesn't go well, does it?
But here's the thing, man. I've had some house parties, but I didn't burn the earth down doing it, right? So when I was reading this today, man, I was thinking to myself, okay, you got 200 watchers, right? Semjaza is the leader. And you didn't think at no points turn the music down. It's 3 a.m. We don't want the cops to show up, right? No, it's just just go with it, man. Just go. We're in it deep, right? And that's what I think it's crazy. But I read this. Actually, it was a pretty like impressive thought that somebody had, and they posted it, and I read it, right. And they were saying that in every fantastical tale that you hear, right, that can survive one generation, right, every fantastical has a base of truth in it, right. So when you hear about vampires and werewolves, they might not be what we think they are today, but they were there somewhere along the line, right? And it just goes down. And that's what I thought to myself.
Or at least something that sparked or was the seed for that entity, right?
Yeah, right.
Like something similar. Yeah. Because it does, like, you got to look at what the main pieces of it that survive throughout the evolution of the story, right?
That's a great point. That's a great point. Like, so what is the constant about a vampire? The constant, right? What's the constant?
Immortal.
Immortal. Drinks blood.
Right? Seductive, typically.
Yeah. And then
like an incubus.
Yeah, but and then you go, and then everything else across is like flavor, like handsome, ugly, can't go into church, can't be out in the sun. But all that stuff is like defined. But the three constant are the same. The same thing. What's the constant about a werewolf? Turns into a dog, turns into a wolf, turns into a man.
Yeah.
Constant, right? So when you add the fairy tale stuff out of it, it comes from something. And so when I see these things, right? I see these things, and I can see to myself, I actually can see in my mind, pre-flood, right? That the world is just one giant Dungeons and Dragons, man. Like there's like just like that's literally how it had to have been, right? And I don't know. It kind
of seems like it, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, do I want to, like, so you have all these monsters living together on the planet. You have all these giants. You have angels, right? You have humans because they're manipulating us, eating us, forcing us to do stuff while they pillage the world. We're living alongside of them. Enoch is here, which is a direct bloodline descendant from Adam, right?
Yep.
And man, and you had magic, you had sorcery, you had all this other stuff going on, right?
That's crazy stuff. And see, and this is where we get into one of my favorite quotes, right? I believe Arthur C. Clarke, and I'm praying that I don't murder it. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So they're seeing sorcery and magic by these entities that already we know have the power to travel between, whether it be dimensions or stars or whatever, inconsequential.
Yeah.
Far, far more technologically advanced than we even currently are.
They have the power of flight.
Reaching the point where you understand how their magic could actually be technology.
Yeah. And so it must have been just one giant out of control. So when I put that together in my mind, and I read it saying that the entire world was corrupted, the entire world was just full of misery and sin. And when they talk about when they use the term sin, they're talking about like these hybrids and all this other stuff, like this murdering and stuff, this living completely out of balance. It talks about how they were eating everything, the trees, the grain, the animals, humans. We couldn't sustain them. These giants were supposedly always hungry. The same thing with these monsters. These monsters were all carnivores, right? They had to eat constantly, right?
Well, and then you got to think about, okay, well, what do freaking angels eat?
I actually know the answer to that.
Right? Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. So in the Exodus in the Bible, it talks about manna, right? God gave the people coming out of Egypt, the Israelites. And I don't think they were considered the Israelites at that time, right? Well, because Israel. So the tribes of Israel.
The Exodus, yeah. When they're leaving.
Yeah, it fed them manna. It's like a bread. It's a special type of bread they eat. It's called manna, right? That they eat it. It's what angels are supposed to eat. It actually refers to the food of angels in the Bible. But if you come down to earth, that doesn't mean they have to eat that. You could eat whatever. I guess you could eat steak and all that other stuff too. So I guess who knows? Yeah, who knows what's going on, right?
let's just say they do eat manna, right? When they describe manna, they describe it as like the perfect food.
Right.
So what if there's something in there that those giants need?
Yeah, for sure.
Being descended from something outside of our realm.
Yeah.
Hence the hunger. They're not able to absorb some vital thing that they need.
Constantly
driving
them nuts, man.
Right?
These guys are just
not enough selenium. Something.
Hungry,
Who knows?
Hungry and horny all the time, man. That's all they were, dude. Is just running around, just going wild, dude.
Sounds like ADD to me.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So they mess everything up here. So all your fairy tales and all your other stuff, the origin story from everything you've heard, or these mythical creatures, all comes out of the Book of Enoch. And people say, well, what about a fairy? Well, my guess is that you can take a human DNA and splice it with a mosquito, and there's your fairy. Right? So it's like a little flying around. Who knows? These guys were up to everything. And what also too, the Book of Giants is specifically about what the giants and the monsters were doing. I don't want to steer off course too much of that as well. But there just seemed that there was just no type of rules whatsoever. But I do have another thing in here as well that I want to get to, right? Before we move on to the next chapter. So these giants and these monsters, they had their own council that wasn't attended by the angels or the watchers, right? And so basically there had to have been some type of hierarchical leadership, right? At least something that they had to talk about to go in there. And as doing my reading on this, I actually had a thought of maybe like some type of morality thought. Were all of them evil? Were any of them good? Or did all of them
were they just acting in their best interest?
Right. So like it's the whole nature versus nurture thing, right? Were being born a giant inherently made you evil? Or is it something that they could choose to like, hey, I'm not going to, eat this village today, or something like that, right? I don't know, but we'll get to it. We'll get to that at the very end.
Okay.
But anyway, so here's all good things must come to an end, y'all. All good things must come to an end, and this is where it starts to come to an end. Shocker, they get caught, right? Shocker, they get caught in a bad way. And so God finds out, and he's like, I ain't having this. So he starts sending these guys dreams,
You're
right?
ruining my experiment.
Exactly. So like, yeah, ruining.
You've completely destroyed my experiment.
Yeah, completely, right? So we start sending them dreams, and they started having weird dreams, right? And then they were like, okay, we don't know exactly what these dreams mean. So they have a council meeting, right? And this is where I love, this is one of the reasons why I find the Book of Enoch fascinating. Not only because it's Enoch, an incredibly important person. He's in the bloodline. He's Methuselah's dad. You know what I'm saying? And so it names names, right? It names names. The Book of Enoch says that a giant named Malway, right, was the first to have a vision of destruction. That is so freaking specific, bro. Right? Like Malway was the first. Also, Malway was one of the giants, one of the few giants that was actually referred to as the Titan Malway. And if you know anything about Zeus and all those other guys, their mortal enemies were the Titans, right? Titans were incredibly hard to kill in Greek mythology, right? So Malway was a Titan. He was the first to have a destruction dream. So they called the council together. I love it. It refers to this, Jay, right? The Council of Giants and Monsters. I wonder what their logo was, right? Was there like a little...
Yeah, right?
The Council of Giant Monsters to come together.
Can't even imagine what that would look like, man.
Nah,
it's like
man. Yeah, just...
the reverse of the Jedi Council or something. I don't freaking know.
Yeah, exactly, man. So in my mind, I just see them all gathering around a great big rock. And all the things I just listed, they'd have their leaders there, right?
Yeah.
And then, so Malway goes there, and the first thing he says was like, hey, I'm having this dream. I think we're about to get punished. And even then, another reason why I like the Book of Enoch is because it states his emotional state. It says Malway felt that he would take the most heat because he had done the most evil So that means that, like, hey, I'm worried. I'm going to get in more trouble than y'all because I do more fiduciary than you guys do, right? And so I just thought that was hilarious. But then it goes on, Jay, I think it was, to say that a second giant named Oha, it's very specific. He spoke up and he's like, yo, calm down, Malway. Calm down, bro. Yeah, calm down, bro. Yeah, calm down.
Sorry, man. This, yeah.
So he says, calm down, bro. Who showed you this vision? And this is right here where another thing I like. He says, I saw it and my father, referring to one of the watchers, and he names him Barkel. My father Barkel saw it as well. He experienced the same thing. So that tells me that at least the fallen angels were still interacting with their firstborns or their direct descendants, right? Not their lower ones.
It talks about Azazel too.
Yeah, right? Dude, let's just pause right there for a minute.
Because Oya and Haya went to Azazel.
Yeah.
And spoke about Azazel and said,
yeah,
you're going to protect us, right, bro?
Yeah, right, exactly.
We're your children.
Yeah, right. So they go to Azazel saying, you're going to get punished more than us because you taught the humans how to make swords and fight. So you're going to protect us, right? And so I got to stop there for a second, man. Like, Enoch's got the receipts, bro. Enoch is dropping names. Nah, it was Malway, Oha, Azazel, Barkel. They did that. I wasn't at that party, right? And I thought to myself, man, that's just awesome, right? I mean, it's incredibly effed up that all this was happening. It must have been misery if you're like a human, right?
But see, here's the thing, though. Like, I mean, Enoch there was obviously a population of human beings who were essentially safe-ish. Oh,
no, you're right, man, because he was off limits.
So, well, I mean,
exactly. Yeah. So they referred to
favorite.
Yeah, they referred.
He was the favorite. He was the
was
brightest
God's
one.
He was God's number one right down there at the time, right? So he was off limits. In fact, they referred to him. I want to say Enoch the scribe or Enoch.
Yeah.
Something, right?
Yeah. So he like they referred to him as Enoch the scribe.
Yeah.
Specifically. And look at him as an advocate, right?
Yeah.
Hey, back us up, man.
Yeah.
So, ask them for forgiveness or do whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
You're in with them.
Help us out, bro. Help us out, right?
Help us out.
And here's another thing too. There's another thing too that I think that I actually see. What I'm about to tell you next is actually a direct cross-reference between the Book of Enoch and the Sumerian tablets. Because the giant said, you know what, man? Azazel is going to help us fight. We're going to be okay. One giant stepped forward with fear in his voice, and his name was Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is all through Mesopotamian lore. He's in there. I think he's in the book of the Sumerian king tablet where it lists all the kings. Like, supposedly we found his tomb during the invasion of Iraq in 91 or 92. And I think that some people even tell you that's the reason why we went into Iraq, because we wanted it was in there. Hillary Clinton's email server, this is facts, you can look this up, had emails talking about what they supposedly pulled out of the tomb of Gilgamesh. Like, this guy is known, right? And the fact that his name specifically comes up in the Book of Giants, in the Book of Enoch, that blows my mind, bro. That blows my mind, right? And this is what he says, basically. He's like, yo, boys, we're cooked. That's what he said. He says, look, man, he literally goes on to say, look, I'm a strong man, right? I've fought wars. I've dominated humans. I've killed other giants. He says, but we will never defeat heaven. We can't fight them. They are too strong. We are doomed. That's what he said. We are doomed, right? And so then that's when they were like, okay, fighting's out. Because I guess Gilgamesh had to have been a prominent figure for him to say, hey, look, man, we can't do it, right? Mm-hmm. And they take him serious. And that's when they were like, hey, look, man, go talk to Enoch, right? Go see the scribe. And so they make Malway do it. I guess this goes to show me again that he must have been a leader of some sort, right? the Titan must have been one of their main figures in the council. So Malway was selected to go to find Enoch, and like I said, he was a Titan. So, and this is how it says that he went there. It says that he flew. It says Malway flew across the inhabited world and across the great desert of desolation. He flew there, and he knew right where to go. He knew where Enoch was at, and he landed. And the first thing that Enoch said to him was, "Hey, you, be more careful. Don't fly so close to the sun." That's exactly what Enoch says to him, right? He gives him a little scolding, saying, "Hey, look, don't fly so close to the sun." And it makes me think of the story about Icarus. Remember Icarus in Greek mythology? Flew too close to the sun? Yeah. So Enoch knew he was coming and gave him a tablet, right? He gave him this tablet, and the tablet basically it was from God. And it was like, here's a message, deliver it to Semjaza, right? Which was there, was the regent, or what we say, Jay, the head watcher. Is that what would you call him there? Like the head watcher. Yeah. It says, take it there. And this is literally what the tablet said. You're doomed. You're going to be judged. I'm sending Raphael to you right now. He says, I'm sending Raphael. Archangel Raphael's on his way. Another thing, again, he's got the receipts. He's dropping names. And he goes on to say, you're doomed. Your wives are doomed. Your sons are doomed. Your sons' wives are doomed. Everyone who are around you are doomed. No one will escape. That's what it says. Because of all that you have done. And he says, again, however, while Raphael is on his way, I'm going to send a flood for you to suffer. And here's the thing that I didn't know. I didn't know that was in there, right? It says, however, this is the last sentence that God put in the tablets. However, if you repent from evil and pray, you might have a chance. That's what it says. Lily, that's it. That's what it says, right? Imagine getting that sticky note, bro. It's like on your refrigerator, like, I'm at work. I know what you did. I'll see you when I get home. You know what I'm saying, right?
It's like that scene. I don't know what movie it was, but it just popped up on my YouTube the other day. The bikers in the bar. Was it Goodfellas?
Oh no, that was I know exactly what you're talking about. That was oh my gosh.
And they're like, hey, if you calm down and be nice.
It's called a Bronx Tale. A Bronx Tale.
Bronx Tale. Have a beer. Be nice. Be nice. Just be courteous.
Just be nice.
It'll be fun. You hang out. Have a beer.
Yeah.
It's all good. They walk out the door, and the guys are asked.
Yeah.
What comes next? They come back in, and she's, yeah, you had your chance. Yeah. Now you're screwed. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Pretty much how he lays it down on the table, right?
Exactly, man.
Chicago style.
Exactly. I think the exact quote was like, okay, boys, if you don't want to behave, I need you to leave. And he goes, we're not going anywhere. And he goes, really? So he walks over and locks the door, and he goes, now you can't fucking leave, right? That's what he says. Now you can't fucking leave, right? And then he throws him a proper like Bronx style.
Throws him a beating.
Good movie. Good pull, bro. Good pull. So yeah, dude. So when I read that, it gave me that's when it dawned on me the morality of the situation, right? Were some of these guys redeemable? Were some of them not evil? So why the might? Like some of them obviously you're getting, like Azazel's getting dealt with, right? So he's getting dealt with, right?
They're all gonna get dealt with.
Yeah, Semjaza's getting dealt with.
I kind of feel like they should have known that in the back of their head, right?
Yeah. My thing, yeah.
Here's a counterpoint. Maybe they thought he wouldn't be back.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe the possibility existed in their head, in their minds, that they would be left to their own devices.
Yeah, so that's a great point too. One of our channel helpers pointed out that I made a mistake. Yeah, they like doing that. When I referenced the term immortal when I should have used the term eternal. So like something immortal can't be killed. Eternal doesn't die of old age, but you can still kill it, right? So you got to think that
makes sense.
So thank you,
It's a good distinction, though. It is.
Yeah.
It is a good distinction, I think.
Right.
I never thought of it like that
Yeah.
way, but
So
yeah, they're eternal, but not immortal.
Not immortal. So they can be dealt with, but they won't die from old age or disease or anything like that, right? So I thought to myself, like, okay, so God must have thought that some of these, and so also too, I know God's big about not inheriting the sins of the father, right? Right. So
Mhm.
so if you were just a creation of something that you had nothing to do with, and maybe, I don't know, right? Like I don't like, I can't even begin to think of the thought process of God, right? And so, but they gave them an out, man. Some of them had the chance. Some of them, specific archangels were sent down here to deal with them. Gabriel, Raphael, I think Michael, and Uriel. Like them are 4 heavy hitters, y'all. If you don't know the Bible, right? So
That was pretty much it right there. Yeah. That's only the things we know about, right?
So
like these are other beings that are more powerful than the Watchers coming back and saying, "Look,
yes,
you done sneezed in my fucking petri dish, asshole.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna put my foot in your ass."
Yeah, so somebody I'm sitting and yeah, so those were 4 heavy hitters sitting down to clean it up, man, and they did. So what was funny is because other parts of the Book of Enoch specifically. So also too, y'all, that's where the Book of Giants abruptly ends. Was the tablet, right? It was the tablets area, and then it leads on to something else. But the Book of Giants, what's that guy's name again? Maui
Mm-hmm.
gets the tablet, and it's like, yo, man, you're cooked, dude. Go back and repent and pray and you might have a chance. It doesn't really go on to say if they did or not. What's that?
So, picking up on that, right? Mm-hmm. Like you said, you saying the repent and you might have a chance thing. Mm-hmm. It kind of meshed with something else in here that caught my eye, right? The dream,
right,
that they had,
mm-hmm.
right? It was I'm trying to read it now. It's about uprooting a tree, and now I lost it. It's
yeah.
And then
the original dream of the tablet
shoots came out of their root.
One more time. What was it?
It said, "In my dream, I was watching this very night, and within a garden there were gardeners, and they were watering. 200 trees and large shoots came out of their root. All the water and the fire burned all the trees, and they found the giants to tell them of the dream." Right? But in somewhere here, it talks about the dream, but also that the uprooting of the tree, but only 3 roots were left.
Yeah, so and so yeah, it says that those were Noah's kids, Noah's boys.
But aren't they speaking like, so this is a dream given to, so you would think that that's the Noah and his offspring? I would think maybe 3 roots of the tree, meaning
3 giants?
3, like, yeah, 3, 3 different offshoots of the monsters and giants surviving the flood.
It's funny you brought that up, bro, because I actually found the 3 giants that supposedly lived. No lie. We didn't even coordinate this.
There we go.
So
no, I had no idea he had that, but I'm really happy that he does. So let's talk about it.
So you have to divvy off from the Book of Enoch. It doesn't talk about any of he doesn't go on to state, and there's a reason why Enoch doesn't go on to state what giants lived, because God came and got him before the flood. He took Enoch. He just took him away, right? Enoch walked with God. God loved Enoch so much, he just showed up and took him. So Enoch wasn't here during the flood. Methuselah was
he was the best result of the experiment that he could salvage.
Exactly. So he just took Enoch, right? Just took him away. Methuselah was his son, stay behind. And Methuselah's name, I think in Hebrew, translate to when he dies, it begins. So the day Methuselah died, the rain started or whatever. And it took Noah about 120 some years to actually build the ark or whatever. But that's a whole nother story. So anyways, but when you branch out, right, there was, obviously we know that giants survived the flood, because if in the book of Deuteronomy it talks about, I think his name was I want to say when Jacob, I don't know if his name was Jacob or not or whatever.
Goliath.
Well, no, so Jacob led before that, man, David killed Goliath, but Jacob led the Israelites out of the desert finally. I think it was Jacob. And the first city he sacked was Jericho. And Jericho, God specifically told him, kill everyone. Women, kids. Yeah, because there was Nephilim blood in there, and dogs. He said, kill the dogs, no cats, don't take any gold, any silver, nothing. Smoke them. And he did. And then he goes on to fight other giants that they briefly skim over. I think they're referred to as the Canaanites or something. But it talks about how big their beds were, right? And so also as you get moving into it, the most famous story is David killed Goliath, right? But in David's lifetime, 2 of his lieutenants actually killed Goliath's brothers, but they were giants as well. So like some giants survived, right? Yeah. Here's the 3 prominent ones that are, if you go and you do just a little bit of digging, they will tell you these 3 giants survived. So again, every single culture on the planet today, everyone has a flood myth, a flood story. It's not a myth; it actually happened, right? Everyone, right? So 3 giants survived, and it's crazy because they survived in 3 completely different areas. One was a Nordic giant, right? In Norse mythology, out of modern day Scandinavia. His name was Bergermir, and his wife, she was a female giant. Bergermir and his wife, she was a giant as well. They survived the deluge, but they referred to it as the deluge of blood, right? But the deluge, right? The killing of all the stuff, and they were drowned except for these 2. And how they did it was he hollowed out a giant tree trunk, right? And I don't know if you've ever seen the theory of these mesas that look like petrified tree trunks. You ever seen those before? That gets a lot of steam on Instagram, right? So he was one, right? And he actually goes on to breed. His sons become known as the frost giants, right? I was like, okay, that's cool. Jump over to China. This is another one too. In China, they had a giant survive. Her name was, the second female giant, her name was Nuwa. And Nuwa is a giant Naga, half snake, half lady, right? You can see
maybe like a dragon, maybe.
Yeah, and that's a great point right there. That's a really good point, because they're big on dragons over there, and they are huge about half snake people, half.
What about the Eastern dragon? It looks more serpentine than the Western dragon.
For sure. Yeah,
I also have another thing to share that'll kind of blow your mind too, but let's continue.
All right. So she survived, right? And the way that she survived the flood is that, according to her mythology, a great flood wreaked havoc. It wasn't mythology. And it was called, and this is what it says: the sky gods restored order to the world. That's just so specific, man, right? So the sky gods restored order to the world. And she survived the flood by let's see, it doesn't really say how she survived the flood. Let's see, read it real. Great flood wreaked havoc, restored order to the earth. So, doesn't say how she survived, right? But she supposedly survived it, right? The next one, it says how we survived, right? The next giant, the 3rd giant, the only 3 that I could find that's rumored in all the mythologies that survived the deluge. This other one was called Halda, right? And she's an indigenous base of north of Canada, North America. So she was actually an Indian, right? Like, I guess they call them, we call ours Native Americans. They call them in Canada First Nation, I think is what they call Canadian indigenous. But that's what she was. From the northwestern coast of North America. And I'm telling you right now, that's where tons of Bigfoot stuff goes on the west coast of Canada, man, just north of Washington. We even talked about that last episode, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And she was a woman, bro. She was a woman. And she clung to the top of the tallest tree on the tallest mountain. And that's how she survived, right? And it says I think she carried somebody with her. She had somebody with her too, which it doesn't say who. So there's the 3 giants that I found that survived the deluge, that we know this about the deluge. And that is not in the Book of Enoch, because Enoch wasn't here. He was gone. He wasn't here to write it anymore. And damn, that's one hell of a 3-part miniseries movie right there, bro. Why are they not making this in a movie, man? Why?
Can I offer another alternative
Let's
explanation?
go. Hit me.
How many different ancient humans do we know of presently?
Oh, so I got into
Dennis
yeah.
Right? Neanderthals and modern humans were all on Earth at the same time.
I think, isn't there 7 now? Supposedly 7?
Was Floriensis, which is the hobbits.
Yeah.
Right? But think about that for a minute. If you got Floriensis, right?
Yeah.
And you've got the hobbits, the Denisovans, and the Cro-Magnons no longer existing.
None.
It died out.
So you got elves, orcs,
But elves, orcs,
hobbits,
and
goblins,
halflings. Dwarves, halflings, however you want to put it, right?
Kill the halfling.
They were more like gnomes. They were more like gnomes than dwarves because they were thin, right? So dwarves being short and stocky.
Dang, bro.
So that might blow your mind a little bit. The 3 roots of what's left of the Nephilim, right, had to die out in order for the Earth to be okay again, right? And they keep coming back and they testing us because we still have Neanderthal DNA coursing through our blood. Yeah,
no, for sure. Like, no, 100%, man. And what frustrates me the most, man? Like, I had a conversation today. I actually invited this person on the podcast. They blocked me, but there's a thin veil between science and mythology, and if they would just remove the veil, like
we just got to remove the stigma of exploring the connection.
It all makes sense like that, right? Like I've said this several times, man. Ignore Native American legends at your own risk. If they tell you do not go to that mountain when the moon is red, don't go up there.
It lived here a really long time.
Exactly, right?
Maybe listen, right?
Listen, don't go up there, bro. All right, nothing good will happen from that
mountain for a reason.
Just saying. Don't go up to the Dettloff Pass, man. It's called the Mountain of Death or Death Mountain. It's not because of the flowers. All right, it's not.
No. No.
Oh man,
it's not because it stinks real bad. You know.
So yeah. If they took that veil away and combined some stuff, I think it would be like a great, like, theologists. They run from the Book of Enoch. They cannot stand it.
You could make a really really excellent, like, if you just took it and like just did it, like, who cares? Just follow the story and just be as very close as you possibly can, and it would be fucking fascinating,
bro. Right? Bestseller, man, bestseller. And we've talked about this before, man. I know the reason why they don't do it, right? And I'll tell you exactly why. They already know it's true. They've already done the legwork. They've already done the research. They've already connected the dots. They've already found the bones. They've already found the artifacts. They know the hot spots. There's a reason why you can't go to the top of Mount Hermon. There's a reason why that rock is put away, right? Number one, this opens up too many questions, bro. You understand? This opens up way too many questions, right?
Way too many.
We did a short. You can go to the short section and find it, the Mystery Minute section, where a bill was shot down in 2022 that was going to make animal-human hybrid testing creating illegal, and it got shut down because they're doing it. And the reason where I actually came across a story one time where I want to say that it was somewhere near the Himalayas, but not in the Himalayas, right? It was near there, right? But it wasn't in the Himalayas. An archaeology discovery team or something came across a cave. A cave that had a faux door on it. You know what a faux door is, people? It's not a real rock door. And over time or whatever, the door has slipped. That's a word, slipped.
That's a new word.
Slipped.
I like it.
Slipped it off its thing where they knew there was a door there. They went in there. And when they went in there, the rumor was that they found a room with a computer that had a holographic projection. And if you, with what looked like on the control panel, a DNA strand, and that if you rearrange the DNA strand, it would show you on the holographic scanner what you had just created, right? That was the rumor that they found. That makes more sense to me. And it also leads me to the reason why they know this is real. They know it's true. This puts number one, it puts way too many questions that the church is not ready to answer. Number one. Number two, it shows that we are still playing with matches as far as our technology goes or whatever, right? To this day, we're just idiots playing with matches when it comes to, we don't know shit, right? Number three, it shows that the planet, and this is one of the reasons why that really makes me upset. The planet that we live on is great and magnificent, and our history is much, 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 much more richer than we were told it is. Another reason is that we are not the top of the food chain. By no means are we the top of the food chain, right? We are.
I think that's the one.
Yeah, I think so too, right?
I think that's the one right there.
Yeah, we are not the top of the food chain. Matter of fact, we were down there with the pigs. Like we're an experiment. Yeah, what I'm talking about for these giants, we were the pigs. We were. They got hungry.
We were cattle essentially.
You got ate too, right? But also too, man, it's just an amazing story, bro. And I love it, man. I love this book. I love all the Book of Enoch stuff, man.
It gives you a lot to think about for sure, because it ends for me to like. It adds some plausibility to the story, right? Like it gives you a little bit more of a believable tale when you include it in with the rest, right? Yeah. It becomes more of a patronage story, right, than a religious one.
But it cleans up the book of Genesis. It connects all those dots, man. Like that makes all that stuff. Yeah, and I was just like,
right, because at that point you can view it from, like I said, the perspective of a first contact story where we were obviously being watched and looked after and cared for at a certain point, right? And then there was an event that triggered a paradigm shift in our capabilities or our ability to understand the world around us, I think. And at that point, the veil was lifted, and we kind of knew that these things were here watching us doing things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And also too, man, like every they terrified us. Literally, that's the first reaction you ever see is they was terrified, and it's like the Bible says 365 times, one for each day. Do not be afraid. Every contact they have is that they're freaked out about it, right? And it's like, no, don't be scared, don't be afraid.
It's because it's not them. You got to think about that for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of what it was, you're talking about dudes who hit things with sticks, and then all of a sudden, this other thing that isn't anything they've ever seen.
And imagine, I did a little quick playing with some AI art. I uploaded to Instagram, man, of Archangel Michael fighting a giant, right? Imagine that fight, right?
I don't know that it would be much of a fight.
No, imagine us watching that, right? Like this.
From the perspective of like all of a sudden these things come out of the sky and just start wailing on these things.
And like, so this guy, what's his name, Maui, was the Titan, right? Like, he was the big one, right? He got handled. You understand? Handled. Imagine that you've been terrified of this giant for your whole entire life, this Titan. Something shows up on your behalf and smokes him. Not even close, right?
An eternal being.
Yeah.
Right? Not immortal, but eternal being that you, like, has been in existence since your grandfather was young.
Right? You've seen this guy rip a mountain in half, right? And all of a sudden something shows up. And the archangels, they're not giants. So I've read some interesting things, man. People try to postulate their height, right? Anywhere from 10 to 15 feet, right? They would say that, about the same size as Gilgamesh was at the time, right? 10 feet, 15 tall, right? Adam was rumored to be a 10 foot tall being in the Garden of Eden, right? So even so, he would scare you, right? But then when you're looking at something that Titan's 30 feet, right? 3 times taller, and he handles him. You know what I'm saying? He just handles him, right?
Just
boom,
takes him apart.
Like you talk about, that's like a Dragon Ball Z fight right there, man. Goku going Super Saiyan on him, right? Just knocking him out.
Mike Tyson and Jake Paul.
Yeah, exactly right. Done, right? Boom. But yeah, man, that's why I just think to myself, like, our history is so amazing, and I hate that we're constantly lied to, and I hate I wasn't upset, but the person I was talking to, she was very upset, because when I point out the fact that the Egyptians, or no human being at all, built the pyramids, the Great Pyramid, some people's mind can't handle that, right? And so I was hitting her with facts. She was hitting me with insults. I invited her onto the channel. She blocked me. So anyway, I offered her a t-shirt too. Hey, so I told her too, like, hey, look, we're not your enemies. We're not here to fight. We're here to enlighten you. And I will tell you exactly right now the reasons why that beings did not build the great power plant of Egypt. Number one, I gotta catch my breath here. Number one, the Egyptians never claimed they did. The theory that Egyptians built the pyramids came around 1930, 1920 or something like that. Some 1910, some British explorer, some Arthur Stukaduki or whatever was over there, and he said, "Oh, the Egyptians built the pyramids." They never claimed that, right? Today it's not, you cannot, the only thing that Egyptologists and people like myself agree on, the only thing we agree on is that no one knows how they were built. No one. There's not one hieroglyph written about the construction or the bricks they used. And people say, oh, why would they write that down? Well, why do they write down how to embalm a cat? Why do they write down how much grain they ate every year? Why do they write that down? This is your pinnacle of creation, right? You wrote nothing down. They never used those size bricks ever again. Never again. All the other bricks go into manageable man-sized bricks, right? They never recreated the precision of the great power plant. The next thing that they constructed, I want to think it's called the Red Pyramid. It looks like I built it in the yard with Legos. It's terrible, right? They never recreated it. They used a type of granite that's like number 4 on the Mohs hardness scale. We made a video about it. They're a Bronze Age society with copper tools and rocks.
Carving rocks.
The only way that only way that you could cut that stone is by pouring water and sand, and then basically it's called an abrasion. You're just rubbing it raw. You can't slide paper through these bricks. Paper.
So here, let's get back. Let's forget about who constructed it, but let's think about a possibility here that I thought of the other day, because this has been kind of, you keep saying this stuff and it just is infecting my head. So it was turning around in my brain like, okay, let's explore the idea for a minute that the Egyptian pyramid or the Great Pyramid, how would you build a power plant? And like, if you were going to build it that way, right? Like, if you were going to build this power plant, how would you use the materials available to you to make it conduct electricity, right? And then I saw an article today about, and this is probably going to get me in trouble with people who have more scientific knowledge than I do. So you're just going to have to bear with me for a minute, because I'm going to chop this out. right?
Just roll with it.
Differential, electrostatic differential, right? So one of the NASA engineers has come up with this drive that comes up that uses the electrostatic differential effect, right? It uses electrical capacitors to create an uneven electrical field, right? Mm-hmm. And if you create it the right way, it will produce thrust, right? So my thought was, well, it's round on one end and pointy on the other. See, if you put that upside down, I wonder what that would do, right? And then I was thinking, well, how would you create an uneven electric field using a pyramid? Well, the shape is good, right? Because, you have to have an uneven positive and negative electrode, right?
Right.
So the electrode or one of them has to be bigger and blunter than the other, meaning the flat bottom, which is big and blunt, and the pointy tip, which is small and sharp.
There you go.
That was made out of gold.
And if you wanted
to use gold a lot, what do we use gold the most for right now? Electronics.
And to add to your bullet points there, Jay, so how would I get a pyramid to vibrate from the bottom to the top?
Well, Joe, there does happen to be something called the piezoelectric effect.
What? You don't say.
Where if you vibrate quartz, right, or if you compress quartz, it will produce an electrical charge. Now, in order to do that, you would have to make the tiles very tightly pressed together.
What? How did the diapers union get that done?
From the base of this apparatus would cause an electrical charge to push up through based on these tiles pressing against each other with enough force to cause the piezoelectric effect. So any vibrations underneath this object could, in my,
theoretically,
monkey brain, create something like a power plant that would carry the charge up to the tip, to the electrode, essentially, where it's a gold pointed electrode up into the sky.
And if you go and do just a smidgen of research, you'll see that the Great Pyramid was built on what looks like an underground type of river that constantly made it, what am I doing? Vibrate. These guys built it, dumbasses. Right? No human being built it. The Anunnaki, the Watchers.
It's fascinating to me, right? Because it's invariably outside of this particular one.
And here's
a place of worship.
Oh yeah,
right. So the Aztec, they were temples. The highest pyramids were temples where they would worship and communicate, right? So it's just fascinating to me to kind of connect the dots because, I'm a skeptic, so I gotta find what I consider a rational scientific explanation for things happening.
Well, here's another thing I'd add to you too. Have you ever seen the King's Chamber, burial chamber that's in the Great Pyramid?
I mean, I've never personally been in it. No,
you can go online and look at it. There's nothing in there.
I've seen I guess cutaway diagrams where it shows like two vents,
bro,
and then this chamber in the center and stuff.
They buried him. They buried him.
A long time ago, I saw they tried to put like a track, like a little robot down one of the holes, and it just kept going and going. And
I would be curious. I would be curious to know how the Diaper Gang was able to cut those stones and still put the shafts in there as well. Like wow, wow.
It's pretty impressive.
It is impressive.
No matter how you slice it.
And man didn't do it, and they buried him in the exhaust chamber. That's not a burial chamber. That's the podunkest looking burial chamber I've ever seen in my life, man. It ain't even in there, man. Nah. Listen, and they know it. We're arguing about it, but the people at the top, they know we didn't build it. They don't want to come out and say these guys built it because now you got the world's largest monument to their existence down here.
So let's take that for a minute, right? Here's what we do know. Well, here's what the rumor is. One of the rumors that floats around from this whole UAP congressional hearing stuff is that we have multiple non-terrestrial craft. One of the big rumors that I've consistently heard is that one of them is too large for us to move.
What? Ooh.
And it's been here a really long time.
You know what?
Now,
the Egyptians built it. The Egyptians could move it. They could move it.
Here's my thought. What if it's in Israel? What if it's under the Temple Mount?
Well, that's a good question.
Right? What if that's what's like, what if it's way down underneath there and the Templars found it? Right? Or during World War II, somebody else found it, or whatever. Maybe it's found multiple times and people misunderstand what it is until all of a sudden in World War II, we do understand what it is. And it's in our best interest to guard it. And who better to guard it than the people who have an ancestral claim to the land?
That's a good point.
It's a weird loony theory that just popped out of my brain right at this moment.
So, and here's another one too. Here's one that I'm following. Mysterious Planet. Our buddy Scott. If you guys don't follow him yet, man, you should go follow his channel, man. He drops a lot of he's deep into this stuff. And I saw something on his channel that this one blew my mind, bro. Like, I'm not impressed. I've been on the alien game for a long time, right? So this doesn't impress me. This impressed me, right? That they have a craft that is like a normal craft. We'll just say 10 by 10 foot wide. But you go in it, it's just, once you get inside, it's inside of a football field, right? Like there's some kind,
like a TARDIS.
Yeah, did you hear about that? Like some spatial distortion. That freaks me out. That blows my mind. Huh?
Bigger on the inside.
Yeah, that blows my mind right there. Right? That right there.
That's like the whole premise of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
You realize, right?
I never seen one episode, man.
Okay, well, let me just tell you, that is literally the whole premise of the Doctor Who spaceship that he flies around on, that blue box.
Bro.
Right? That
is amazing. That right there is what, if you're any type of theoretical physicist, that right there should be your goal, right? That right there. That is actually science coming into play right there. That is amazing. Dimension. Yeah, man. Pocket dimensions, man.
Hell yeah, man. I'll take one.
I want one. Right, exactly, right?
Right? That solves the housing problem right there.
Boom. Yeah. So I thought to myself, and like they were saying that is, and I totally agree with that, right? That even to what we know today and what we're desensitized to today, that would blow my mind. That right there today, right now, blows my mind.
Tic Tac video, and that blows my mind because for me, the UFO thing was always kind of a vague interest, just because like I have a hard time believing that with all the stars that there are existent in the galaxy, that we are the only intelligent life that has popped up ever, right?
True.
I'm not saying that we're existing at the same time or anything like that, because there's probabilities there that are crazy, right? But to discount there being anything but us in the whole galaxy is, I think, really egotistical and kind of unrealistic.
It's narcissistic arrogance at its height, bro. Right? We're it.
So, who knows?
You see my shirt, right? We're it.
Right. Could be many, many planets out there, and they could just be inhabited by small creatures. Who knows? Yeah. But, we got to acknowledge the fact that probability states that there's at least one other world in this galaxy that has some kind of life on it.
Yeah.
Right.
I go the opposite direction. I've said this before, man. I think there's life everywhere. Everywhere. I was doing this.
Well, if you read this book, it would lead you to believe that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, everywhere, man.
You have at least two or three different types of entities here that are described in ancient legends.
Yeah.
Right.
And so there's a great theory. There's a great theory too, or I don't know if you'd call it a theory or whatever, or it's actually getting a lot of steam. You ever heard about these? This plays into the Book of Enoch as well, man. You ever heard about these tall whites?
It just kind of entered into my
into your orbit there.
Into my orbit, yeah.
Supposedly those are the Tic Tac boys. the tall whites, right? And also too, the tall whites are supposed to be the ones that are in Antarctica. They're supposed to be the ones that that made up the Norse mythology pantheon, right? Like so.
So Odin was a tall white.
That's what it says, supposedly, right? Yeah, it was a tall white, right? And they're not our friends. They're not openly hostile to us, but they also back the Germans or whatever, supposedly, right? They gave the Germans the technology as well. They're very indifferent of us. They're here to, they want to study us, right? They, you know, about,
that would track, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so their lifespan's about 900 years. And yeah. And so that would be
I feel like it all feeds into the one kind of conclusion, right? Like, okay, so we're gonna operate under the premise that all stories are true.
Yeah.
Okay. All stories are true. They lead us to one conclusion. There was an experiment or some kind of thing, and there was an event that happened involving non-terrestrial entities that triggered what is rumored to be a cleansing, right? It all just really sounds very experimental.
Yeah.
To me.
And even when you go to, so yeah, even yeah.
Like, what do you do? Okay, so let's couch it like this. You're at Aberdeen, right? And you're one of the guys that work there, right? In the white suits. And you drop a flask. What fucking happens to that room? They pull the handle and whatever, fire or who knows what comes down and fucking wipes everything out.
Kills the monkey juice. Killed the monkey. The monkey juice gets smoked.
Everything.
Yeah, nah.
What if we're quarantined? What if we're not being visited? What if we're being monitored?
Those are good points, man. Those are really good points too. And I think, and it leads me to, I had a good conversation. I've been defending the human race a lot lately, right? And so okay, let's follow that through.
Well, I mean, in the big scheme of things, we're still just children.
Yeah, but why would you quarantine us though? What do you quarantine? What things?
Quarantine that might make. Well, here's the thing. If this is all if we're still under the assumption that all stories are true, dude, we are the product of some wild and crazy shit that got far, far too out of control.
Right. And you quarantine something that's dangerous. That's right. Why we're and so when I tell people that all the time that we're not
hide your mistakes.
Yeah, we are not nothing. We are not.
Right.
We are not. No. We have not achieved our full potential for because they keep us dumb.
Well, here's the thing. All right, in order for humanity to reach its full potential, we have to shift away from this idea that we're constantly competing with each other,
right,
and move towards more of an attitude of cooperation with maybe some friendly rivalry mixed in for healthy competition, right? But the emphasis should be on the cooperative part of it rather than the competitive. And right now, we've embraced the full competitive nature of greed.
Yeah, I think that's going down the drain, though, bro. I do. I really do.
Well, there's going to have to be a shift because just like anything else, we are a pendulum.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And so what I think, the reason why that we're quarantined, before we wrap up here real quick, the reason why I think that we're quarantined, and it's that I said it before, is because we're wonderfully and fearfully made. Even the Book of Enoch and Genesis, God, but even in the Sumerian tablets, it says Enlil was pissed off at Enki because of how he made us, because we had the potential to be greater than them, right? And that pissed him off, right? And Enki loved us, and he was a little scared of us. He loved us, and he was a little afraid of us, right? And it made me think of the daggone Planet of the Apes movie, man. Like, smart monkeys are dangerous, man. Right?
Right.
Yeah. Smart monkeys.
A non-smart monkey's dangerous, dude. A chimpanzee will pull, eat your face off.
Smart monkeys are dangerous, right? And I thought to myself, that's why, right? But and I think that's why they keep us on this planet, and that's why they study us, right? Because I will say this: there's probably, as foreign as they look to us, we have to. They can't. They're probably saying there ain't nothing like these guys before. There ain't nothing like these monkeys out here before, right? And the same thing when we look at them, we're like, man, what is that, right? That's totally foreign to them. And like I said, if they could not shut our hyperdrives down to put us in that, you don't want this heat, man. You really don't want this heat, man.
And I mean, that's the thing, right? Like,
yeah. But
what if the thing that we inherited was this hunger, and how it has manifested itself in this constant drive to build, blow up, whatever.
What can we call it? My term. I'm just expanding.
Sure.
I'm expanding. That's it. Can we just expand?
Yeah. This hunger for expansion.
Right.
What if that is the danger part?
And if we happen to take your land and all your resources, we're expanding. All right. You're welcome. All right. Here's our religion.
The ultimate sin of manifest destiny, right?
Exactly. Here's our religion. No, but I do.
And that could be the thing that will just breed and spread everywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think that's why, man. I think that's why our lifespans are cut in half, man. Because if you ever talk to a 70-year-old or 80-year-old dude, right, who's still cognizant, like that is the peak.
That's our expiration date, bro.
Yeah, no, like if you ever talk to one who's been around that long and has full cognitive skills, his mind is the sharp. Put that mind in a 20-year-old's body, man. That's what put that mind in a 20-year-old's body, and we are effing dangerous, dude. We are really dangerous.
And I think that might also be it, right? Because we're getting to the point now where aging is starting to be looked at less like an inevitability and more like a disease.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what else? You know what else that a young man and woman's body, patience. Women are more patient than men, but but imagine us at 22 with patience.
Oh, dude.
Imagine that.
If you rewound my clock 20 years, I would be very, very dangerous.
Yeah, exactly, man. Imagine us at 22, 23, patient. And just with what we have in these brain buckets now, patient, right? Not just us. Imagine our whole crew, right?
The patience I have learned in 20 years, sir.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that would be like, that's I think that's the thing, man.
Right?
Anyways.
And the ability, and as you get older, you eventually, if you try just a little bit, as you get older, you learn to see the perspective of others much more because you have more experience of being around or meeting new people and learning that stories of humans are very, very complex, and there's just no right or wrong way for everybody.
Yeah, I look back.
It all doesn't, right?
No, I look back when I was 20. You were there. I look back. I was a I had zero. I feel bad about it. I had no empathy. I had none. Right? I was a savage.
I mean, but then also consider, right, where you came from at that point in time.
Yeah. So the environment. Yeah, exactly. And
you did not come from a place where there was a lot of empathy given, bro.
Yeah. So But if I could go back now with my emotional intelligence and my current intelligence and just patience, right, man? Oh, bro.
Right. Ooh. Yeah, I often wish I had like the magic mirror where I could tell myself stuff and say, "Hey, don't be a dumbass," right?
Ooh. But, slow down. Anyways, wow.
Yeah.
That's a great one. That's a good one. If you've stuck around this long, losers,
Obviously, you are our kind.
You are our kind of loser. So hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. You can find all of our social media links in the main link in the front of our page there. And that was a really good episode, man. I was good on that, man. Good conversation. Highly recommend this book again. Again, it's the complete 54 book of Apocrypha. All the books that the Illuminati ripped out of the Bible to keep you stupid. Great reads in there. And we're literally just scratching the surface of that book there on there. So, well, all right, Jay, you got anything else?
Just this. There is nothing in the universe quite like you.
You're special. I really mean that. I really do. No, that's a good one, man.
I mean, dude, it's amazing, right?
Yeah,
that all this is happening.
You're wonderfully, fearfully made. All right, losers and enigmites. We'll see you next time. Jake, we're out.
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.